Hello, hello, hello. It's Neil from Clever Property Investing, and good morning on this frosty morning. I hope you're all well and you're moving towards your goals. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update on the progress and talking about things that it's not just about getting the offer accepted. I mean, the hardest part about property investing is getting the right deal, buying at the right price, making sure you've done all your due diligence before. But then once you've got the deal, the reason you've probably got the deal is because there's a challenge somewhere. There's something that somebody else doesn't want to take on. There's maybe something not quite right with the property, or there's a challenge for them. They can't be bothered refurbing it, for example, or there may be some kind of challenge going on with the property itself. Or there may be typical examples are title splits. Typical examples are finding out who owns it. We spent once best part of 6 months with backwards and forwards with solicitors for proof of ownership. In other words, the person that was selling the property had to prove that they owned it before they could sell it. And there's also challenges where you may have a tenant in situation where you've got a tenant already in there. That tenant may be paying rent, may not be paying rent, may have a tenancy agreement, or say they don't have a tenancy agreement. So there's all these kind of challenges that will help you to find the right deal at the beginning and get the price to where you want it to be. However, once you've got that deal, then the work starts really does start much harder. So finding the deal is fairly hard and is fairly difficult. But once you get that sorted out, that becomes quite natural and quite second nature, and getting those offers in. It's then what happens after you've had that deal accepted. For example, if you've got a tenant in place, what do you do? How do you deal with that tenant? You've got to do a lot of work beforehand before you accept that deal, before you get that process started. In other words, buying a property, knowing that you've got a tenant in situation and knowing the situation of that tenant. For example, that tenant may not have a tenancy agreement, may never have paid rent, or may have stopped paying rent, or may have had a disability of some sort, which you've got to help them with. All these kind of things are reasons why other people may not buy the property, but are all reasons why you might get the property at a better price, but are also things that you've got to deal with and you've got to get right. And that's the biggest challenge. And sometimes you could just throw your hands up in the air and say, oh my God. And that's where you get professionals that know what they're dealing with. You get your power team, as we call it, around you, people around you that know what they're doing. Get that stuff done. For example, we've got one at the moment, the tenant in place, and we need to help that tenant move on. The property is not right for him. He said it himself, and we're going to help him move on. Now, there are all sorts of laws and challenges around those laws that he wants to work with us, and that's what we've spent a lot of time with him before we bought the property, making sure he was happy to work with us as long as we can help him get to the situation he wants to get to, and that is move out of that property. He doesn't want to be in that property, but he can't find anywhere else. So we're working with him to help him get that. There's lots of things I've had to put in place for that, and it can take time for that to happen. You know, for example, in some parts of the UK during lockdown, Wales had a ban on actually eviction, so not being able to get people out of properties at any time, not being able to put rents up. Scotland have got something similar going on up there at the moment. You know, that might happen in England in certain areas. They may not be too happy. Councils don't have places to put people if you're trying to rehome people. All these things are things you've got to deal with and you've got to be ready for before you push the button to buy that property. So make sure you're happy with everything before you go ahead. It's great to get that deal, but make sure everything's in place, or as much as possible you understand the situation and you understand the process that you've got to go through to get that property where you want it to be and get that value up for that property so you can do whatever it is you want to, generate great return on your investment or flip it, whatever it is you're doing with it. It's Neil from Clever Property Investing. I hope you're having a fabulous time. I hope this has been helpful. If you need some help, get in touch. And you know where to come to, cleverpropertyinvesting.co.uk. And I'll take care and speak to you soon.